Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. The morning sun barely cast its light over the jagged peaks of Azeroth, bathing the ancient lands in a soft, golden glow. For centuries, the dwarves had called these lands home, building their kingdoms deep within the mountains, surrounded by the safety of stone. The Tauren, on the other hand, roamed the open plains, living harmoniously with nature, guided by the rhythms of the earth and the spirits of their ancestors. But today, both races had one singular focus. A Titan relic, long lost to the annals of history, had reappeared. The rumors had spread like wildfire across Azeroth, reaching the ears of both Dwarven lords and Tauren chieftains. This relic, said to contain unimaginable power, could shift the balance of the world's forces, granting to whoever wielded it dominion over all. It was more than just an artifact. It was a symbol of hope, of power, and, for some, of destiny. King Tauren, the stout and battle-hardened leader of the dwarves, had called a meeting of his council when word of the relic reached him. The decision was unanimous. This relic must belong to the dwarves. After all, their ancient ties to the Titans ran deep, and their ancestors had once walked alongside these godlike beings. The relic, they believed, was rightfully theirs. The task of retrieving it fell upon Tauren's most trusted captain, Tauren Ironfist, a warrior known for his cunning, bravery, and unyielding loyalty to his king. Tauren stood in the great hall of the mountain fortress, his armor gleaming in the dim light. He listened as King Tauren spoke of the relic, his eyes narrowed in focus. He knew the task ahead was dangerous, but he had faced greater odds before. As he prepared his elite team of warriors, all trained in the art of combat and the use of advanced Dwarven technology, Tauren's mind was already on the journey ahead. Meanwhile, far to the west, in the verdant plains of Melkor, the Tauren chieftains gathered. High Chief Bane Thunderhorn, a towering figure with horns that curve like the great mountains themselves, stood before his council, his deep voice filled with conviction. The Tauren, too, had heard the call of the relic. But for them, it was not just a tool of power, it was a means of restoring balance to a world that had fallen into chaos. The land was suffering, the elements were in turmoil, and Bane believed that the relic could bring harmony of Azeroth once more. "We must retrieve it," Bane declared. "For the sake of the land, for the spirits of our ancestors, and for the future of our people." Garak Stonehoof, Bane's most trusted warrior and a guardian of the ancient Tauren traditions, was tasked with leading the expedition. Garak was a man of few words, but his strength and connection to the spiritual world made him the perfect choice for such a mission. He was guided by visions, whispers from the ancestors that spoke of the importance of the relic. It was not just an object of power, it was a living force, connected to the very essence of Azeroth. And so, two very different groups set out on their quests. Tauren led his Dwarven warriors through the mountains, their path treacherous and filled with danger. The dwarves relied on their mastery of technology to navigate the difficult terrain. They used mechanical drills to carve through rock, grappling hooks to scale cliffs, and their weapons, designed to be both brutal and efficient, were always at the ready. Tauren, ever vigilant, knew that the journey would test not only their strength but their resolve. The Tauren, on the other hand, moved through the plains with the grace and power of their ancestors. Garak led his people with a calm, steady hand, trusting in the guidance of the spirits. They traveled lightly, relying on their knowledge of the land and their connection to nature to guide them. As they approached the ancient ruins where the relic was said to rest, Garak felt a growing unease. There was something dark, something ancient, lurking in the shadows of the relic's power. The dwarves arrived first. Tauren and his team stood at the entrance to the ruins, a massive stone archway carved with intricate symbols that had long since faded with time. The air was thick with tension as they prepared to enter. But just as they began their descent into the ruins, the ground shook beneath them. From the shadows emerged the Tauren. Tauren immediately raised his weapon, his instincts kicking in. The dwarves and the Tauren had never been allies, and he knew that this meeting could only mean trouble. Garak, however, stepped forward, his massive form casting a long shadow over the dwarves. "This relic does not belong to you," Garak said, his voice deep and steady. "It belongs to the earth, to the spirits. We are here to ensure it is used to restore balance." Thrin's eyes narrowed. "Balance? You think we'll just hand it over because you claim some spiritual connection? This relic belongs to the dwarves, by right of our heritage with the Titans." Tensions rose, weapons were drawn, and the two groups stood on the brink of battle. Neither side was willing to back down. The dwarves, with their technological advantage, and the Tauren, with their raw strength and connection to the earth, were evenly matched. But before a single blow could be struck, the ground beneath them shifted violently, as if the very earth was warning them of a danger ahead. Suddenly, the ruins began to tremble, and a low, ominous rumble echoed through the stone halls. Both sides paused, their attention drawn to the ancient structure. The air grew thick with the dark energy, and the temperature dropped. The whispers that had haunted Garak's dreams grew louder, more insistent. The relic was close, but so was something else, something far more dangerous than either group had anticipated. "We need to move," Thrin said, lowering his weapon slightly. "The ruins are unstable. We'll finish this after we retrieve the relic." Garak nodded, though he kept his eyes on the dwarves, wary of treachery. Together, the two groups descended into the heart of the ruins. The stone walls were lined with carvings of titans, long forgotten gods who had once shaped the world. The deeper they went, the stronger the dark energy became, until it was almost suffocating. Finally, they reached the chamber where the relic was held. It sat atop a stone pedestal, glowing with an otherworldly light. The relic was massive, larger than any of them had expected, and its surface was covered in intricate symbols and runes. But as they approached, the dark energy intensified, and the whispers grew louder. "This is no ordinary relic," Garak muttered, his hand tightening around his weapon. "There's a curse on it." Thrin scoffed. "A curse? You're just trying to scare us off." But before he could take another step, the ground beneath the pedestal cracked, and from the shadows emerged figures of ancient guardians, bound to the relic by the curse. They were made of stone and shadow, their eyes glowing with the same merry light as the relic itself. Without hesitation, the guardians attacked. The dwarves and Tauren, now forced to fight side by side, had no choice but to defend themselves. Thrin's warriors unleashed their advanced weaponry, firing bolts of energy and swinging mechanical hammers, while Garak and his Tauren fought with primal strength, their connection to the earth guiding their every move. The battle was fierce, but the guardians were relentless. Each one they defeated seemed to be replaced by another, and the curse's power grew stronger with each passing moment. It became clear that this was not a fight they could win through brute strength alone. "We need to work together," Thrin shouted over the din of battle. "If we don't, we're all going to die here." Garak nodded, his eyes flashing with determination. "Agreed. But we need a plan." Thrin quickly assessed the situation, his mind racing. The guardians were bound to the relic, which meant that the key to defeating them was tied to the artifact itself. But how could they break the curse without unleashing even greater danger? Just as Thrin was about to speak, one of the guardians lunged at him. He barely managed to block the attack, but the force of it sent him stumbling back toward the relic. As his hand brushed against its surface, the whispers in the air grew deafening, and for a brief moment, Thrin saw a vision, a flash of what the relic truly was. It was not just an object of power, it was a prison. Inside, a titan spirit lay trapped, its once noble purpose corrupted by eons of imprisonment. The spirit had been bound to the relic by a curse, one designed to protect the artifact from falling into the wrong hands. But the curse had grown twisted over time, and now it sought to destroy anyone who dared approach. "There's a spirit inside the relic," Thrin shouted to Garak. "It's what's controlling the guardians." Garak's eyes widened in realization. "Then we need to release it." Thrin hesitated. Releasing the spirit could be even more dangerous than the curse itself, but they had no other choice. With a deep breath, He turned to Garak. "We have to work together to break the curse. Are you with me?" Garak nodded. "Let's end this." Together, they approached the relic, fending off the remaining guardians as best they could. Tauren placed his hand on one side of the relic, while Garak placed his on the other. The whispers grew louder, almost unbearable, but they pushed through the noise, focusing their will on the task at hand. With a surge of power, the relic responded to their touch. The symbols on its surface began to glow, and the dark energy that had filled the chamber started to recede. The guardians faltered, their connection to the relic weakening. As Tauren and Garak focused their combined energy on the relic, the dark whispers that had haunted the chamber began to shift. The air grew thicker, the oppressive force surrounding them like a tightening grip, but they held their ground. The power within the relic stirred, and the runes that lined its surface flared brighter, casting the chamber in a strange, cold light. The guardians, once relentless in their assault, now hesitated, their movements sluggish, as if they too could feel the change in the relic's energy. The ancient spirit trapped within was awakening. A deep, guttural sound echoed through the chamber, not from any physical being, but from the relic itself. Tauren's grip tightened, his muscles straining under the pressure. Garak, his eyes closed, was muttering a prayer to the spirits of his ancestors, seeking guidance and strength. Together, they willed the relic to release its prisoner, to end the curse that had ensnared this place for so long. But nothing came without a cost. As the power of the relic grew, so did the strain on the two leaders. Tauren felt the weight of it pressing down on his mind, as if 1,000 voices were screaming inside his skull. Garak, too, felt the pull of the dark magic, his connection to the natural world threatened by the raw, chaotic force of the Titan spirit. Still, they did not falter. With a sudden, ear-splitting crack, the surface of the relic split open. A wave of energy shot out, throwing both Tauren and Garak backward. The relic trembled violently, shaking the entire chamber. Stone cracked and dust filled the air as the ancient structure groaned in protest. But amid the chaos, something began to emerge. A figure, massive and ethereal, rose from the shattered relic. It was the spirit of the Titan, its form flickering with an eerie glow, like a flame caught between life and death. Its once majestic figure was now twisted, corrupted by centuries of imprisonment. The being's eyes, glowing like embers, locked onto Tauren and Garak. "You dare release me?" The Titan's voice was like the grinding of mountains, ancient and full of wrath. "You seek to claim my power, to use it for your petty wars?" Tauren, battered but still standing, met the Titan's gaze. "We released you to end the curse," he said, his voice steady despite the pain in his body. "Your power doesn't belong to either of us." The Titan's laugh was cold, echoing through the crumbling chamber. "Mortals, always so bold, so arrogant. You think yourselves worthy to command the power of the gods." Garak stepped forward, his hand resting on the hilt of his weapon. "We do not seek to command you," he said, his deep voice calm. "We seek balance. The relic is too dangerous for any one race to control. The curse has already caused too much destruction." The Titan's gaze shifted to Garak, the intensity of it stare enough to make even the mighty Tauren warrior flinch. "Balance," the spirit repeated, its tone mocking. "There is no balance in this world, only power. Power that I will reclaim." With a sweep of its hand, the Titan unleashed a surge of energy that swept across the chamber. The dwarves and Tauren, still recovering from the earlier battle, were thrown into disarray. Tauren barely managed to shield himself, bracing against the shockwave, while Garak dug his hooves into the stone floor, grounding himself against the force. The Titan, free from its prison, now sought to consume the very land itself. Its power crackled through the air, threatening to tear the ruins apart. The once solid stone walls now trembled, and pieces of the ceiling began to fall, shattering on the ground below. "We have to stop it," Tauren shouted, glancing at Garak. His mind raced, trying to think of a way to contain the Titan's power before it unleashed its wrath on all of Azeroth. Garak nodded, his jaw set with determination. "The curse may be broken, but the spirit is still bound to this place," he said, his eyes scanning the room. "If we can weaken it, we may be able to drive it back into the relic." Thrin's eyes followed Garak's line of sight, settling on the remnants of the relic still glowing on the pedestal. "The relic. It's still connected to the Titan. We need to force it back in." The task seemed impossible. The Titan, now fully formed, towered over them, its presence an overwhelming force of nature. But both Thrin and Garak knew they had no choice. If they didn't act now, the Titan would lay waste to everything in its path. Thrin raised his weapon, the edge of his axe glowing with the energy of the ancient runes inscribed on its blade. "We do this together," he said, locking eyes with Garak. The Tauren warrior nodded. "For the land," he murmured, gripping his warhammer tightly. With a roar, the two charged forward. The Titan, sensing their approach, unleashed another wave of energy, but they pressed on, their determination unshaken. Thrin's axe cleaved through the air, striking the Titan's form, while Garak's hammer smashed into the ground, sending shock waves rippling through the stone. The Titan roared in pain, its ethereal form flickering. For a moment, its power seemed to falter, but then it retaliated with a fury that shook the very earth. Energy crackled around its form, striking out at Thrin and Garak with deadly precision. But they fought on, their strikes landing with precision, each blow weakening the Titan's hold on the physical world. In the center of the chamber, the relic began to pulse with energy once more. The cracks in its surface widened, and the glow intensified, as if it were calling the Titan back into its prison. Thrin, seeing the opportunity, shouted to Garak, "The relic! We need to drive it into the relic." Garak nodded, and together they launched a final, desperate assault on the Titan. Thrin's axe struck true, cleaving through the Titan's chest, while Garak's hammer smashed into its side, sending it stumbling toward the relic. The Titan let out a final, deafening roar as it was pulled back into the relic. Its form twisted and contorted, shrinking as it was drawn into the glowing runes. The energy in the chamber surged one last time, and then, with a blinding flash of light, the Titan was gone. The relic, now whole once more, pulsed softly in the center of the chamber. The oppressive energy that had filled the air dissipated, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Thrin and Garak stood, battered and bruised, but victorious. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The battle had taken its toll on both of them, and the weight of what they had just done hung heavy in the air. Finally, Thrin broke the silence. "It's over," he said, his voice hoarse. Garak nodded, his gaze fixed on the relic. "The curse is lifted. The relic is sealed." But both knew that this victory was not without cost. Their people had fought and bled for control of the relic, and now it would remain hidden, buried deep within the ruins, where it could no longer threaten the world. Thrin turned to Garak, his expression weary but filled with respect. "You fought well, Tauren, better than I expected." Garak met his gaze, his eyes calm. "As did you, dwarf. Perhaps there is more to your people than I once thought." There was a brief moment of silence between them, a mutual understanding born of shared struggle. Though their races had been rivals for as long as either of them could remember, they had fought side by side and emerged victorious. In that moment, they were not enemies, but allies. Thrin nodded, sheathing his weapon. "We'll leave the relic where it is. It's too dangerous for anyone to possess." Garak agreed. "The spirits will watch over it, ensuring it remains hidden." And so, with the battle won and the curse lifted, the dwarves and the Tauren made their way out of the ruins. The path ahead was long, and the journey back to their homelands would not be easy, but they carried with them the knowledge that they had prevented a great disaster. As they stepped out into the light of day, Thrin glanced at Garak one last time. "Maybe one day, our people will learn to fight together instead of against each other." Garak's lips curved into a small, rare smile. "Perhaps." With that, they parted ways, each returning to their people with the story of their victory. The relic remained buried, its power sealed away, and the land of Azeroth, for now, was safe.